it's about equal. Oh, bless you.
All right. So what I wanted to do was just kind of do a not really a documentary, but a lot of my audience are not aware of what's going on with Johnny Somali, because I think that the whole story is fascinating. I know that sounds crazy, but I really think it's fascinating because he wouldn't try this in Georgia.
No, I wouldn't try this. No, I wouldn't try this anywhere in the U.S. And imagine if you went out and did something, equally offensive, wherever you're at locally, right? Imagine if you were around. Imagine if you went around a bunch of children in Atlanta and said, "I want to children," and you were blasting that on your JBL speaker. Yeah, exactly. Like how long before you get shot?
We would be counting it within minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'd be a couple seconds, right? So, yeah, and that's what he actually did. And he had the JBL speaker saying, "I want to children." He had it around a little girl, little boys. He's had a bunch of vile stuff that frankly, in the U.S. he would have been dead straight up. There wouldn't have been anything about it. Also,
about it.
If it's like, imagine, he was blasting on the JBL speaker some racial shit in the US, right, against some race when he's around them, right? Like that would have not flown at all. So, and that's and that, he knows that, and that's why he doesn't do it in that. And he also doesn't do it in certain countries because he knows that there's a less of a rule of law, and he's only doing it in countries that have a pretty strong rule of law and, pretty strong, police, in the sense that he knows he's going to be picked up by the police before he's killed by somebody.
Wow.
So in terms of IRL streamers, there are ones in terms of IRL streamers. There are some that are fairly innocuous. There's some that are just like delivery drivers, and technically that's IRL streaming if you're filming yourself delivering pizzas or whatever else. But there's a sub niche, right? This is like a niche within a niche, right? It's not just IRL streaming. It's like nuisance IRL streaming is what it's been called. And I want to call them that, of people that are doing outrageous stuff or stuff that is annoying for cash. Now there's spectrums of this. Some of them, for example, do stuff. And in fact, Johnny Somali was talking to a guy who's in Korea who got kicked out of Thailand. And one of his things, and he goes around the world and does this, is he talks to girls, and he's paid to like go and do like day game or pick up. And like for every minute he's talking to a girl, he gets paid $1. Now, is that illegal? In most countries it's not, right? And maybe in England, I think England it's illegal, but most countries it's not. But is it annoying? Yeah. Right. And a lot of these folks are, out of certain countries, or had to leave certain countries because they committed certain things that might be a crime. Johnny is just different because he actually got caught and convicted for it. Or not, excuse me. He got convicted in Japan. He's not been convicted yet in Korea. Right? Wow.
What makes Korean culture ripe for this kind of shenanigans? Is there something about South Korean people, the culture? What is it?
I mean, I think that he in a very racist way assumes that Asian people are weak and that their politeness equals weakness, right? Which is very, very much not true. But that said, he picked the cultures that generally are more developed, that have a lot of let's say they have a lot of police infrastructure. So the police are going to pick them up before the organized crime does. Organized crime is not a huge thing here, right? Gangs are not a huge thing here, like in relative other countries, right? You can't really disappear someone. There are CCTVs everywhere. So you're not just going to just grab somebody, throw them in an alley and dispose of them that way, because this is not, Rwanda, right? This is not, some other countries, not Venezuela.
It's not Atlanta either.
Yeah, and not Atlanta either, right? Because you could even do that thing in the U.S. as well, right? It's not those situations where you could do something like that. It's a very, especially in Seoul, especially where he's at, is a very monitored society, right? At worst, the police are going to pick you up, right? And what they want to do, especially with foreigners, is, and Japan and Korea, they tend to give you the benefit of the doubt on a lot, right?
Wow.
So then they tend to give you leeway on a lot. And some of it can be language barrier because some people may not understand how rude you're being, right? We as Americans, we watch Johnny Somali's video and we're like, wow, you're being incredibly rude. He doesn't even wait. I have this problem on interviews because I get so excited and I want to talk about things about talking over people. That's something that people can do because they're into a topic or they're excited
Sure.
about it. But he intentionally interrupts people before they've finished speaking to tell them something else.
Right.
Right. So he would ask a kid to put $1 in the machine, and then he would keep asking him to do other stuff before he's even done yet. Or he's talking to an employee and he's asking them stuff before they're even done speaking. So the way he's interacting is rude throughout his whole everything he's doing is rude. Yeah.
So some of the crimes that he's being accused of seem like head scratchers here in the United States, whereas other ones that he's not being that are not as serious seem like no brainers. For example, the public nuisance, that would be like come on, but he's actually in trouble for, was it disruption of business?
Yeah, obstruction of business. Well, that you understand that some of those if there is, sometimes other countries have laws we don't. Of course,
right, sure,
right. And even though we may not have a 1-for-1, we have similar laws. We have trespassing, right? Do we not? Right? We have trespassing. We trespass people all the time in the U.S. Very common, right? And trespass does not require any sort of obstruction of business. Trespass is actually even more simple. You can just come on somebody's property and they get hit with trespassing, right? If they've been told to go, right? So in the U.S., they could clearly trespass Johnny Somali. All of them could, right? Absolutely, all of them could, right? And even that he at points in which he was trespassed, he was told to go, he violated that, right? He also committed several other crimes in many cases, and including there's some harassment there's some racial sexual epithets, right? There's other things, there's assault, there's battery, right? So in the cases where he may have touched somebody, in the cases where he may have threatened somebody, right? So once again, the U.S. threats are something as well. So, threats of harm, threats of, of violence. So there are other things he would have been gotten for in the United States, depending on where he is, depending on the state, etc. But just because it's not 1-for-1 doesn't mean that this is a bunk crime. It's very much a legitimate crime. But obstruction, you should really think about interference with business, right? So that's something where you're coming in and you're interfering with somebody's business, right? And you're doing so in an intentional way. And he clearly was doing that.
But here's the thing about the Comfort Woman statue.
So there's dozens of these. In fact, there may even be over 100 of these. They're all over South Korea, especially Seoul. I've also seen them in Busan, other places as well, and internationally. There's even some in the United States and other places.
Really? Okay.
So yes, they are representing the comfort women, specifically the comfort women that were taken by the Imperial Japanese Army during the Second World War. Now, Korea, I think, was the most affected. However, other countries like China and the Philippines were significantly affected as well. So not to take away from that. And also other countries from around East and Southeast Asia that were affected by the Imperial Japanese Army. What they would do is they would take the men and they conscript the men into fighting the war. And they would take the women and they would use them as essentially slave. It was graphic and it was horrible. And it was to an extent that is even beyond other countries' actions in this regard, because in war a lot of these things happen, but this is really, really bad. And also the children were very young. Some of the children were 9 years old, 10 years old, like children. So this is about and you would say that was even the majority of them were of a age that is now non-consensual, so below 18. And Japan's never fully apologized for it. They've partially apologized for it, but not fully apologized for it. But beyond that, these statues are meant to commemorate and respect these many, many women that were taken during the Second World War. So obviously this represents young women, right? So when Johnny Somali is kissing a statue of a young woman who is forced into sexual slavery, you can see, and grinding up against it, pouring baby oil on the statue and on himself like P. Diddy, right? You can see how that would be disrespectful, right?
For sure.
I mean, that's and once again, he's called himself, he's self-applied the label of I am the P. Diddy, I am the Epstein of.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, there's video. He's put out video calling himself that. Right? And even he said, "Oh, clip it, circulate that." So he is trying to have that image. He's trying to have that out there because he wants to be famous by by way of clout.
I just don't get it, bro. Like, you're gonna come up to me, bro. Why are you being racist to other people in other countries? Why are you bullying people in other countries? For money.
For clout. I've said it many times. I have no morals. I'm a sociopath. I don't give a fuck at all. Put this in your next YouTube documentary. I don't give a. I care about no.
That's his motivation.
So besides just chasing after likes and clicks, how is he making what is this?
But that's it. You're on YouTube too. You're a social media guy, right?
Sure.
I mean, everybody wants their channel to get views, right? Everybody wants their channel to get subscriptions. And no one who's being realistic and not lying is saying they don't want more people to watch their content.
No problem.
You wouldn't make content, and you wouldn't do things if you didn't, right?
Guilty is charged.
I'm guilty. By the way, I'm guilty too. I want people to watch my content. That's why I'm constantly improving it. I'm constantly looking at what people like. We all look at what's going on out there, and if there's a big news item, for me, that's my style, right? I cover legal news. I say, is there something that's got a legal edge? Can I cover it? What's out there? But Johnny does not want to do the hard work. He wants to get the bad attention from nuisance streaming, and he's built up a toxic community. And I don't lightly use that word. I don't like that word generally, but in this case, it really applies. A community which pays him to say and do these bad things, and actually encourage him, for example, to get the speaker so he can do text to speech, so he can have all these things happening live for as little as $1, $2, $3, they can send text to speech. So these people are sending nasty, vile messages to this group for $3, right? And he's out there condoning this, allowing this, not disabling this, not turning down the volume, having it on full blast, right? Doing these, dances and ditty jigs. In all over Seoul and all over the world, really. He's indicated he wants to go to other countries. He wants to go other places around the world and do this everywhere. So this is not something he wants to limit there, but it does work. And during his streams where he's a nuisance streamer, his supporters, pay him more than when he's just walking around and talking. So on a normal day where he's just doing his thing, maybe he makes $100 or something like that. But if he goes out there and does this nuisance streaming, he's making like 1,000, right? Wow. So he's trying to constantly do the thing, hit the button of print money, like make money by doing this annoying thing.
Wow. All right. Well, he's successfully gotten a lot of attention, especially in Korea, where even the lawmakers are paying attention and are making, which I would never have thought. Like literally, lawmakers are talking about this man specifically and the chaos that he's causing. What kind of things is he looking at? What kind of trouble is he in?
Well, he's going to trial now. I mean, he is actually, at least on obstruction, he is headed to trial. There are two separate paths. I explain this very well in my videos. You can check one out. I walk through all the charges, and we don't have time here today to walk through all the charges. Gotcha. There are so many that are pending, but I'll talk about the one specific, which is obstruction of business, which is 100% going to trial. So he is now 100% going to trial, which can take a bit of time, right? And under that, he's going to have several hearings, initial hearing and subsequent hearings, as well as the sentencing eventually when he's convicted. And as part of that, he's facing up to 5 years. Now, do I think he's going to get the maximum punishment as a first-time offender? No. However, they do look at aggravating and mitigating factors, having other charges, doing other things, right? How bad the situation was, other people's testimony, that can all factor in. Also, they can bring other charges. And as we've discussed on my channel especially, there are many other charges they can bring against him, and there's many other charges that have been filed by other people. A lot of people do not understand the Korean process. During the Korean process, you have a criminal complaint that's filed by usually an individual. Okay. And then it goes to the police. The police investigate and they recommend to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor prosecutes. So they've gone ahead on this one because it's a slam dunk and it's super easy, but they've got other claims that are sitting at the police portion, and they're just waiting for the police to forward those over to the prosecutor. And typically it takes 2 to 4 months for the police to recommend stuff over. The fact that he's there on obstruction already shows that they're trying to expedite that one and get him locked in on that. And then they may hit him with other charges. And mind you, when they hit him with the other ones, he'll be a repeat offender, right? So he'll already be a convicted criminal. And the second and third and fourth times, that's going to be a harsher punishment because you're coming in as a convicted criminal. The second time you're a one-time convicted, then you're two-time convicted, then you're a three-time convicted, and that just makes the sentencing worse. They don't have to bring them all at the same time, which is more common. Yes, which is more common in the American system where they wait and they'll just put all at the same time. They don't have to do that in Korea.
So he's a one-man Rico, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, not Rico. He's did it himself, right? Because I mean, Rico's harder to prove, right? Rico, you have to show a pattern and organization and stuff. He's done it all himself on camera live, and he's explicitly even said his intention out loud. Now he can say, "Oh, it's joking, it's comedy," and I would ask you, because you're in America right now, and I'm in Asia, so perhaps even though I'm an American, I know a little bit less. You've watched some of his antics. Do you think this is American comedy?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't even think it's funny on the other side of the dark side of the moon. It's not even funny. It's really like, why are you doing that? And as an American looking in, I see the Korean people as just very hospitable, extremely low key, quiet. Yes. Not a lot of. Now I'm sure there's noisy, loud Koreans. But
and it's kind of funny because it's like when you live I live in Asia and I spend a lot of time between different countries, between Korea, Japan. I've spent time in Thailand. I'll be in Vietnam and Taiwan in a bit. So it's funny you say that because comparatively, right? Like compared to Japan, for example, Koreans are louder. Right. Really? But then compared to America, it's quiet. Right. It's like it's all relative. Right. It's all relative to it. It's relative to the schema. Right.
Well, I think look again, not being a Johnny Somali aficionado, and I'm definitely not a South Korean culture aficionado. Sure. It just seems like oil and water. It just seems like he's, the worst of America to the most quietest, what I see is the quietest Asian country, and it just doesn't mix. Playing the Japanese national anthem or the North Korean fight song and stuff like that, that's not trying to be funny. That is being deliberately offensive to a particular people group with malice, in my opinion, malice intent.
Yes, malicious intent. Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Now, Johnny's. So let me make sure I got this right. If he gets, let's just say, snap my fingers, and he's convicted tomorrow, he gets 5 years. And all of a sudden the police say, we got this treasure trove of charges against him, and they wheel it over to the prosecutor and dump it out on the desk. He would get the 5 years plus. Wow.
Well, no. Hold on. Yeah, if he gets the treasure, no, hold on. No. Let me be very clear. Like I said, 5 years is the maximum sentence. For the obstruction. He ain't getting 5 years. Okay.
Let's say 3. 2.
Okay, sure. He could. Yeah, no, once he could. And he's not getting 5. So we can say 3, we can say 2, maybe it's a 1. Okay. Right? Let's say he gets 1 on that, and then there's another charge, he gets another 1, and then he gets another 1, and then he gets another 1. It builds up to be significant. And I think what people, what a lot of people are doing on YouTube is they're making the clickbait title of he's going to get 30 years, he's going to get 50 years, whatever. He ain't going to get 50 years, right? That's not happening. However, he's a 24-year-old kid. Imagine a 24-year-old kid who's addicted to social media like he is, right? Being locked in a South Korean jail for even 1 year or 2 years. That's going to be significant. That's going to be a significant impact on this kid's life to be locked in a jail for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. That would be a very significant period of time for a kid that level. I mean, this is the TikTok generation. This is the Instagram, story generation, that's got a 30-second, time, attention span, right? Yeah. A year without that and locked in is painful. That is painful. No monetization, no nothing else. It's going to be rough.
Okay. So how is he going to, because I heard you explain, he's actually paying, explain the jail system in South Korea, because it's totally different than what we experience here in the United States, which I want to stay out of too, by the way.
Yeah, well, I want to stay out of all jail systems. But that said,
amen.
The system is similar but different. I mean, the big difference is in South Korea, there's a foreigner prison, right? So it's in Chonan. So there's a prison for foreigners. So he'd be sent down there. So you get sent down to the foreigner prison. You can be fined like in the U.S., right? You can have a monetary penalty and a criminal penalty, right? So that's part of the side. So you can be, and I've talked about this, kind of funny. You can be forced into labor if you don't have enough money to pay your fines, right? So if you're issued a fine, so that was what I was talking about, hard labor, whether he's farming cabbage or making odeng, which is the little fish cakes. You know, they can force him into labor to get that done. But yeah, I mean, very interesting. But anyways. So he's put in there. The prison will be, that one is 75% Chinese. It's not Korean, although there could be foreigner Koreans. So for example, people from America or Canada or whatever that are of Korean background there. So that is a distinct possibility.
Are there a lot of Americans, or is Johnny Somali an anomaly, or is he bad? You know, basically the worst of another trend that's going on in South Korea, do you feel?
It's part of a trend in South Korea.
Yeah, because I've seen other YouTubers, content creators doing IRL nuisance stuff.
Who have you seen do that?
No, just other content creators that have been doing IRL nuisance stuff in Asian countries, maybe not even in South Korea, but just in general. Is that
you're talking in Asia, maybe, but that would be pushing it. I would just say IRL streaming is a trend. The nuisance streaming is a trend. So that's why I say it's a broader problem.
And I didn't mean to miss.
Sorry, no. I just was curious if you saw something I didn't. I was like, wow, there's other people I've never heard of them. But I mean, Johnny is the main one in Japan and Korea. There's a guy, Ice Poseidon. Maybe you've heard of him in Thailand.
Yes.
Right. He got now. He was actually arrested. He was about to go to jail. He had to escape the country, probably through a very, very big bribe that he paid to get out.
Wow.
Right. He can now never return to the Kingdom of Thailand. That's just because he did something extremely rude in public. He did some naked lap dance with lingerie in a public restaurant. Wow. It was extraordinarily very illegal and very offensive, etc. So that's something out there. And actually, Johnny is part of that kind of crew of folks, the crew of nuisance streamers. So that's why I say that this is something that does prevent future nuisance streamers, right? So if the laws don't change, or at least the enforcement of the law, because in my mind, they don't need new laws. They just need to enforce their existing laws. Just actually enforce them. And if you see somebody nuisance streaming, you need to immediately take their camera away. They're go handle them, charge them, book them. Do it ASAP instead of being polite and waiting, because you see they're going to create a bigger issue down the line, and they're going to create the perception that others can come to your country and commit crimes. Right, which is not good. So I think they need to handle it harshly. Now that's not their style, but I come as an American saying, no, you need to do this. And they're like, all right, yeah, no, American lawyers are saying this, people are saying this online. We need to actually step up.
I got you.
And by the way, the media coverage of this is having an impact. It's actually having an impact and a positive impact, and them saying, yeah, we're going to actually enforce these laws, because they don't want to go and lock foreigners up and bring foreigners on trial. It's only when they see the pressure, like, oh yeah, this is something internationally that is an issue, and they want us to lock this guy up. They don't want us to just deport him, right? That's the preference here.
I love it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So,
because that's the standard practice. If you're in Japan, Korea, anywhere else, just deport them, right? Because you have no right to be there, right? You're as an American, you have no right. I mean, unless you're a citizen of that country, right? You have no right to be anywhere but America, unless you have anything but a blue passport. You have got no right to be anywhere else. That is a privilege that you are being extended, which can be revoked at will, right?
So speak to that. Johnny Somali actually can't leave South Korea. He couldn't run away from South Korea, or can he?
And now he is stuck in that country for an indefinite amount of time.
No, he cannot.
And he's basically on, I guess, international house arrest, because he can't leave the country because they've confiscated his passport.
Yes, and well, beyond that, they put him on a travel ban. It's electronic. The whole system is electronic here. We're in the 21st century in Korea. Everything's electronic. You're not getting out of any port, any airport, any seaport, anything else without travel authorization, which he's banned. So you're not getting past it. I mean, in fact, when you leave the country, it's by facial recognition. His face is recognized as a no-go, right? It'd be a big red X, and he'll actually get in trouble for even trying to leave. Right.
Wow.
So, he's willing to try. Feel free to try, Johnny. He's not going anywhere.
Okay. What happens if he did try? Would he have a compounded try?
Yeah, sure. He could be
Wow.
viewed as escaping. I mean, right. So there's the other charges that are attempting to evade his travel ban. Yeah, absolutely. If he was doing so, knowingly, which I'm assuming he would.
Wow. So he's scheduled for trial, but he's still running amok. Could you kind of explain?
He's not running amok. He's not running amok. How would you say he's running amok?
Well, I'm sorry. Let me. So here in the United States, I'm thinking of somebody being arrested. They're in jail waiting for trial.
Right.
So they're
okay.
not able to stream, but he's able to.
Well, are you aware in the U.S. we have something called bail?
Yes. So he's on bail.
Okay. No, well, he's not on bail, but the South Korean system just presumptively lets you out, which is actually the standard in the U.S. as well in some jurisdictions where they're not as big on bail, or they just kind of let you out in your own. It's called, in the U.S. you say released on your own recognizance. Have you heard about that? ROR,
yes, absolutely.
Right? Released on your own recognizance. It's ROR. Everybody's on ROR, right? And the thought is, especially for foreigners, it'd be different if it was a Korean, maybe, or if it was a violent crime, maybe. But this is a person that's going to have to pay for their own housing and lodging. Why should the Korean taxpayer pay for his housing and lodging?
I love it. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Right? Why should they? That's like Korea paying for his stuff. Now he's being investigated. Police are following him. So, the vigilantes can't get to him right now, but the police are also watching what he does. So they're actually giving him rope to hang himself. The cyber crimes people are watching him. Other people are watching him. They're downloading his streams. They're sending him his pictures, videos. So he's under the eye right now. He's under the eye.
And speak to that, because he's actually developed he's fostered the ire of vigilantes, and the citizenry is trying to reach out and touch Johnny in some instances. What's happening with that?
Well, I mean, they've already done it. He's been punched multiple times by multiple people. The most famous of which was the UDT member Dalkun, who is a member of essentially the Korean SEALs. Mind you, this guy could have killed him. This guy could have just snapped his neck like a little baby. I mean, the guy's 5'4", and is in manlet. I mean, the guy, and this is a SEAL, right? So, I mean, I have buddies in the U.S. who are SEALs, and their line is, we don't fight, we kill, right? So if we're getting in a fight, at a bar, like somebody might just die, right? Because they don't really know how to just fight people. So he's very lucky that guy didn't just kill him, but it was intentional just to punch him once and leave him, right? To send a statement that he didn't care. And this is when Johnny was being followed by police. Police were right there. Police saw it exactly, were right on him and arrested him. The point was to make a statement, right? The point was to make a statement about what Johnny's doing and the wrongness of it, right? And this is something that's been called for by a lot of people. Everyone's saying this guy needs to, be beat up, whatever. In fact, most people who are from other countries like the Philippines, Thailand, Brazil, Mexico, they're saying to me, hey, this guy needs to come here and try that. He'll be dead in 10 seconds. Right?
I mean, really?
So, and which may be true, right? And maybe that's why he doesn't go do this in Mexico, right? Because he knows, right? Because that's once again, there's a balance of how strong is organized crime or unofficial, community action versus the police. He's going intentionally to countries with strong police presence because there's a procedure there. There's a process there. You're not going to be killed. You're going to be locked up. And, generally for most first time criminals, you're released, or in case of foreigners, you're mostly deported, right? Which is what he's been banking on. He's been banking on the fact that they just deport people, right? So that's his game. His game is to go to every country and be deported. But now they know. So this is his third country. He's been to Israel as well. I forgot to leave Israel in there. So he also was to Israel and being a nuisance streamer there. So he's banking to go around the world and do this. The problem is he's now hitting the wall because he's reached a level of public notoriety, of negative notoriety, where the countries are looking at this and saying, well, we have to set an example because he did this in Japan. He did this in Israel, right? They're getting that evidence. They're seeing that turned in. Including evidence that I'm going to turn into the sole prosecutors, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's coming out there. That's why he's being treated a little bit differently this time.
I got you. Now, Legal Mindset, you are an American by way of, say again?
Yes, I'm an American.
Right. But you're in South Korea now. If you don't mind, do you mind talking a little bit about what you do, if that's okay?
Yes, sure. I'm a lawyer, and I also obviously have a YouTube channel, obviously Legal
For
Mindset.
sure.
You can check that out. I also do help people get visas over
Here we
here.
go.
So legal visas for Korea, for Japan, for Thailand. Obviously, Johnny does not have a visa; he's on a visa exemption. But if you want to stay somewhere for 6 months or a year,
For sure.
you often need a visa to do that, right? You need
Yes.
a legal, valid visa to do that. That's not often easy in a lot of places. So I assist people also with relocating, with picking the right country, helping them in the Asia region. I focus on that. I don't focus on Latin America because that's where I live. I am from Miami. I've traveled a lot. I've been to,
Really?
I've been to South America. I've been to Europe. I've been a lot of places, but I find Asia fits my vibe best. And
I like
I
it.
really truly enjoy it here. I spent 3.5 years full time in Korea during the pandemic. That's when
Okay.
I moved. I actually moved during the pandemic. I absolutely love it here. And I plan on being an expat the rest of my life. So I actually genuinely enjoy it.
I love it. I love it. So, so Johnny can't come to you and ask you to help him with a visa, I guess, huh?
Hell no, I would not help Johnny with a visa. I would help him with a visa straight for jail, So yeah.
Absolutely. Cabbage farming. We'll help you get that
Yeah.
cabbage farming job, my
Get that
friend.
cab or farming visa. Exactly.
So I guess I totally understand what you're saying pertaining to why should the South Korean people house and take care of Johnny in jail, let him be
Mhm.
free. But what he does to make money is be a nuisance. So
Well, he's not
it's-
making much money right now. So like he's
That's
not doing those nuisance streams anymore. Like he can't go to the statue, for example, again. He's threatened
Right.
to do that. He can't do that. He's not free to do that. Right? The
Okay.
police are on him, are with him. If he was to do that, he would be mobbed, right? So it's not going to happen, right? He's
Wow.
talking about it, but it's not going to happen because they're on him, right? And if he was to do something like that or try to sneak out and do something like that, he would be in much bigger trouble. I'll say it that way, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. So, I mean, his stream of income is cut off, or at least greatly reduced.
It's greatly reduced. He cannot do the same sort of streams he was doing before,
Right. Which
right?
he shouldn't have been doing anyway.
Which he shouldn't have been doing anyways, right? But if he was, if he tried to do so, it would have been a big problem. It would be a big problem. Right?
Wow.
It would be a big problem.
Okay. Now, very last thing. When is his trial to start? Do you know?
We don't have that date yet. As soon as I have that date, trust me, the world will know Johnny Somali's trial date.
Okay.
As soon as it is out there.
All right. Are you going to be in court with the
Oh
camera?
hell, heck yes! I'm going to be in court now. Now hold on. The thing I need to mention here is South Korea does not generally allow televised and streamed trials. However, in extreme cases, they have allowed people to petition for stuff to be heard, for stuff to be filmed. So you better believe I'm going to ask and I'm going to try. Right. And that would be great if it could. And even if I'm not the one who's streaming it, if a news channel could have permission.
Oh my gosh, that would be
right. A Korean news channel, then I can restream them. That's fine. Right. It could be like a pool camera and just say, hey, this is of great public and international interest. I'd like to petition to be able to film this. Right.
Right.
And we can have, like I said, it can be court equipment, so it's not my equipment or whatever else. That's fine. It can be public access. It can be free for everybody. That's perfectly fine. But this should be something that's televised because it's of public interest. It's of international interest.
I agree 100%. Well, Legal Mindset, I am very glad that we were able to connect. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and to talk about this. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Do you think that Johnny's case will be heard before, the spring? Well, I guess it's spring.
I don't want to give a timeline. I do think that the beginning of the first case will be in the next couple months. Yes.
There we go.
It's going to be before, like in Q1 2025, if not starting in December, right? Because we're rolling into December here. I think his first hearing date could be in December. So whenever we get that, trust me, because this is not. I want to also break up the process here. It's not one like the YSL trial or something else where Johnny Depp where the case starts, it's 2 weeks and it's over. That's not how it works.
Wow.
It's several hearings that can be spread out over even months.
Oh.
So you can have like a hearing and then some time to respond. You know, your lawyers go off and they can come back and they respond and can present evidence, right? So there can be a series. Usually it's 2 to 4 initial opening, 2 to 4 hearings, and then a sentencing or a verdict / sentencing hearing.
Oh.
So this is
Wow.
not something that, it's not done the same way. So that's why I'm being a little bit cagey about this, because it's not like it starts here, it's 2 weeks and it's over. That's a little bit too simplistic.
Right. Well, don't worry about it. We're used to the YSL trial, and nothing there was simplistic. So
Right. YSL was pretty crazy. Yeah. So
Nothing was
definitely
simplistic.
different. Not typical. Yes.
that was not typical. But no, I really appreciate it. And I really enjoy your channel, and I'll be definitely leaving a link to it down in the description as well. So people can do the YouTube thing, so that people can check out what you're
guys,
doing.
like this video. It helps him. It helps your channel. It helps my channel. It helps get
Absolutely.
news about Johnny out there. And I hope more people can research this topic. And I also hope that people, by the way, feel comfortable coming to Asia still. I know a lot of people have said that, hey, I'm not going to feel as comfortable traveling as an American, or I've had people say as a Black American, I'm not going to feel comfortable.
what do you mean?
You're very much welcome in Asia. No, I'm saying people have left comments on my videos saying, like, I'm scared to travel. I said, do not be scared. You're not Johnny Somali. They realize that, like they're intelligent people. If you're respectful, you behave yourself, you're going to be fine. You're not going to have any problems visiting Japan, Korea, anywhere else in Asia.
Definitely do not allow Johnny Somali to inhibit your travel plans. Well,
Exactly.
I want to thank you again for your time. I know are you on Saturday already? Or are you?
Yeah, it's Saturday morning. It's Saturday at
Monday
11
already. I don't know what.
11 a.m.
It was hard to figure this out. I was like, I'm over here doing an abacus. Like, what time is it? It was hard. It was hard. I'm like, what in the world? But I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your Saturday morning. Enjoy yourself. You got anything fun going on today, or what do you have going on?
I got some Johnny Somali stuff going on today, because I've been meeting with folks. I've been meeting with Korean YouTubers. I'm going to get some to talk to some folks and maybe a little conversation with some lawyers, some people involved in this case. I am on this pretty much 24/7. So this is my pet project. So I'm working on this and not going to give up. So
I love it. Well, keep at it. I'm looking forward to seeing more things from you and keeping in touch. And if anything comes up, you know where to find me.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Take care, friend.
Hit that like for deal with Christian. Yo, for deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian. For deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian.